Do you remember the Mitsubishi Adventure? That, along with the Toyota Revo, were the favorite family vehicles of the regular Filipino family around 20 years ago. Well, what we have here is a spiritual successor to the Adventure, the Xpander, but this version went to the gym and bulked up a little bit. This is the Mitsubishi Xpander Cross, and in this video, we find out if a buffed up Xpander even makes any sense. Let's do this! Hello guys, I'm Reagan and welcome back to another car review. If you're new to my channel, I hope you click that subscribe button for your regular dose of Philippine automotive content. If you're my subscriber already, well, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. After, you click that like button. Also, special thanks to Mitsubishi BGC and the Auto Hub Group for lending us their Xpander Cross to do this review. If you are in the area and you have a need for a Mitsubishi, head on down there to their showroom and check them out. For any inquiries, you may also contact the person in my pinned comment below. 20 years ago, the Mitsubishi Adventure was the affordable, rugged, people carrier alternative to the pricier Mitsubishi Pajero. It had a diesel engine, rear-wheel drive, and can basically haul anything from people to stuff. Well, mostly people. Now fast forward 20 years to today, and we have here Mitsubishi's famous family carrier, the Xpander in a Cross variant. Now the Xpander Cross was introduced in 2020 as the latest range-topping model in the local Xpander lineup. Now this Xpander Cross has a retail price of 1,245,000 Philippine pesos, which is a hefty price bump from the GLS. So let's see if the Xpander Cross can justify its existence. If Megatron were to transform into a car rather than a plane or a cannon, he would transform into the Xpander Cross. I mean, look at this face. It really reminds me of Megatron. Now, it probably has to do with the LED DRLs that are mounted up top and it looks like Megatron's eyes, or the fact that this demo unit is in the color white and silver. I mean, Megatron is colored white, right? Still, the Xpander Cross has that futuristic look to it and it will surely turn heads. Now, the Xpander Cross also gets these dynamic shield front grille here, but the design is different from a regular Xpander. We also have plastic claddings here on the front bumper for that added rugged look. Now for the lighting duties, we have a full LED lighting treatment here. We've got LED headlights in Megatron's cheeks, and we also have LED fog lights that looks like Megatron's cannons. The side profile shows off the biggest difference between the Xpander Cross and the regular Xpander. We get a lot, and I mean a lot, of plastic claddings here. The regular Xpanders get a body kit, but this Xpander Cross has to make do with plastic claddings. True, it's rugged. It looks rugged, in fact. But guys, this is a front-wheel drive MPV, so don't expect to take it river crossing anytime soon. However, we do get larger wheels here. These are 17-inch alloys, and they're wrapped in 205/55 R17 tires. Now, the larger wheels translate to a taller ground clearance because this Xpander Cross now has a ground clearance of 225 millimeters. Now, that might not be enough to do a river crossing, but it sure is enough to withstand an occasional Manila flood. Now, behind these wheels, we get the same mechanicals as a regular Xpander. We get ventilated disc brakes up front, drum brakes at the back, and for your suspension, we have a MacPherson setup in the front and a torsion beam at the back. Now, other niceties that this Xpander Cross has are a pair of roof rails, power folding side mirrors with LED turn signals, and a smart key entry system. The rear end gets a pair of nifty LED taillights here, while the Xpander Cross also has this black center garnish right there. Now, the plastic claddings continue on here at the back. We've got plastic claddings on your rear bumper, but it's broken off by this futuristic-looking rear skid plate. Now, when you pop open the manual liftgate, you'll see that with the third row in use, we can still accommodate one medium-sized luggage. Now, there's even more space underneath the floorboard of this area so that you could fit smaller items underneath the floorboard. Now, if you tumble down the third row seats, that expands your cargo capacity to around 4 to 5 medium-sized luggage. Now, the good thing about the Xpander Cross is the second row seats also fold flat to the floor, such that if you went shopping in IKEA, you could easily fit all the furniture that you're gonna buy. Despite its rugged looks, the Xpander Cross gets the same heart as the regular Xpanders underneath its hood. What we have here is a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder gasoline MyVec engine that puts out 103 horses and 141 Newton meters of torque. Now, the power is sent to the front wheels via a 4-speed automatic transmission. Okay, so I said two bad words there. Front wheels and 4-speed. I mean, for a rugged-looking people mover, this thing should be a rear-wheel drive. And what's up with the 4-speed anyway? It's the 21st century, guys. I mean, it looks like the Xpander Cross has also inherited the same transmission as the Mitsubishi Adventure. Now, despite its archaic transmission though, this Xpander Cross returned to me pretty decent fuel economy. On a city run, I was able to get 10.2 kilometers per liter, and on a highway blast, it returned to me 19.2 kilometers per liter. Now, that is pretty good, especially for a gasoline-powered people mover that's equipped with a 4-speed. Hop into the cabin of the Xpander Cross and you get some more updates and upgrades versus the regular Xpander. The Xpander Cross has two-tone black and brown leather seats here versus the fabric seats that the Xpander GLS gets. We also get a leather-wrapped steering wheel here, and we have a cruise control, which is a nice surprise in the MPV class, plus of course hands-free buttons for connectivity. Now, the wheel also adjusts for tilt, and it also telescopes. Another nice surprise because, yeah, the Xpander Cross is still in the MPV class. Now, when you look at your instrument gauge cluster, we have a combination of analog gauges and a digital information display in the middle. And I like the fact that we also get an engine temperature gauge here, guys, which is something that I'd expect to get, especially since this vehicle is over 1,200,000 Philippine pesos. Now, the multi-information display is also colored and the resolution is also quite nice. Now, when you move over to the infotainment system, the Xpander Cross gets a 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system here, which unfortunately only has smartphone mirroring and Bluetooth. It doesn't come with CarPlay or Android Auto, but at least it gets a reverse camera, and the image quality of the reverse camera is pretty decent. From your 7-inch infotainment system, you go down to your manual climate control system here, although these look really good for a manual system. And when you go down further, you have an actual manual handbrake here and a couple of cup holders, which we will subject to my clean canteen test. Now, let's see if it passes. Yes, the Xpander Cross cup holders passes my clean canteen test. No problems there. Now, one thing that I did notice here is the fact that we lack a center armrest. Instead, we have here a cubby that can house some more items, but I would have appreciated it if Mitsubishi gave the Xpander Cross, being the top-spec model, a nice leather-padded center armrest right here. But, well, that's just me, guys. Now, when you look at the entire cabin materials that they've used here, you'll see that this place has also received an update. We've got a nice two-tone dashboard here. We've got some nice browns and blacks and some nice stitching that are found on top of the dashboard, on the middle dashboard, and even some stitching on the top of your door cards. Now, they are all visually appealing. Just look at them and don't even try to touch them, guys, because the moment that you touch these cabin materials, that's when you realize that they're all hard touch plastic. Everything is hard touch plastic, guys. Even the elbow rests on your door cards are hard touch plastics. But still, I have to give it to Mitsubishi, guys, for putting in that effort to make this cabin visually appealing despite being just made of hard plastic. I mean, yeah, that kind of effort to make this cabin look really nice, that is worth a thumbs up coming from me. The second row seats of the Xpander Cross may not be as plush as, let's say, a crossover, but it does come back with a good amount of flexible space here. I'm 5'6", guys, and this is my driving position, and I got a good 6 inches of knee room left, and I have a whopping 7 inches of headroom here. Now, 2 average Asian adults will be very comfortable here. A third one could also fit in the middle, as long as, well, they are a little bit on the small side. Now, we also get a row of ceiling-mounted AC vents here, pretty typical of a Japanese MPV. And I also noticed that this center part of the back seat also folds down like this, which can act as a center armrest, or if you're transporting, let's say, long items like a carpet or a long pole and you have 2 rear passengers, well, it will still be quite doable. Now, aside from that, guys, we also have ISOFIX anchors and, well, not much else. We don't really get any other toys here on the second row. Now, to get to the third row, guys, all you have to do is quickly, well, tumble this seat forward. And now that grants you a large access space to go to the third row. The third row seats are naturally cramped, but it is a little bit better than, let's say, the third row seats of 7-seater pickup-based SUVs. As I mentioned, guys, I am 5'6", and I still got around 2.5 inches of headroom here, so that's pretty decent. But the knee room is practically zero. My knee is already touching the seat back of the second row seats. So yeah, if you are taller than 5'6", the third row will not be the most ideal position for you. Now, the good thing here is I'm actually seated quite well. My sitting position means that my knee isn't too close to my chest, so that would be a bit comfortable, except that it's really quite tight. It's not as tight as, let's say, the third row seats of the Toyota Rush, but definitely nowhere near as spacious as the third row seats that I saw in the Suzuki XL7. Now, here at the back, we get a couple of cup holders only, and we also have a 12-volt charging outlet, but no USB charging ports here. So let's get out of this third row seats and hop back to the driver's seat and take this Xpander Cross out for a quick spin. Alright guys, so we're now driving the Xpander Cross, and the first thing I notice here is the visibility. I mean, we have a steeply raked down windshield right here, but despite that sporty profile, well, my visibility is not compromised. Now that is really cool, guys, because the way this windshield is positioned, my eye line is already near the top of the windshield, and normally when you're driving something as tall as an MPV, you'd be looking down on the road, and as I look down on the road, I see more out from this steeply raked down windshield. So despite the sporty profile of this thing, visibility is not compromised. Now, the next thing that I noticed with the Xpander Cross is the brake feel. You see, whenever I'm stepping on this brake pedal, it feels like I'm stepping on a piece of plyboard. It's like I'm stepping on a bathroom tile. It is quite hard, and there's really not much brake feel into it. I also noticed that the brakes itself are pretty weak. So if you're going a little bit faster, you have to allocate more braking distance to effectively stop this thing. Now, when it comes to the actual drive itself, well, it is quite decent when it's just going around town like what we're doing now. It's got a good amount of low-end torque, and that 4-speed automatic, despite being a bit archaic, does a good job in putting the power down when you're just going around the city. However, when I took it out to the highway, while it could accelerate quite well and take you up to triple-digit speeds, when you reach around 90 kilometers per hour, well, the wind noise start to creep into this thing. Now, that's the only thing that I noticed with its NVH, because the tire noise is non-existent, so its insulation, the tire quality itself is pretty good. However, at above 90 kilometers per hour, well, yes, the wind noise is really starting to be heard. Now, when it comes to maintaining that speed though, at a constant 100 kilometers per hour on the highway, well, your RPM levels are already close to 3,000 RPM, and that's because of the 4-speed automatic. You'd expect that because, well, it is a 4-speed, so you don't really have an extra gear to take you up whenever you're on the highway, which in a way should sacrifice your fuel economy. But I was surprised because at a constant 90 kilometers per hour, as I mentioned, I was still able to get 19.2 kilometers per liter. Now, the sitting position and the driving feel of this thing feels like I am piloting a van. You see, because of that steeply raked down windshield, plus the fact that we don't really see the hood of this thing, makes me feel like I'm driving something that doesn't even have a hood. Plus, my sitting position is like I'm in a dining chair, so it feels like I'm piloting an actual truck or a van. Well, this being an MPV class vehicle, well, that should be pretty much expected. But other MPVs make an effort to make the driving feel more like a car rather than an MPV. But this Xpander Cross drives and feels like an actual MPV. Now, we do get an electric power assist system here, but despite that, it's not really too artificial feeling. In fact, we got a good amount of heft here, but don't expect its steering response to be lightning quick. This is still an MPV after all, guys, so yeah, it's really made more for relaxed driving and relaxed maneuvers around the city. Having said that, despite having just a rear torsion beam, well, the ride quality of this thing is really good. I mean, I was surprised because I'd expect that it would have the same ride quality as, let's say, the Toyota Rush, but the Xpander Cross rides so much smoother than its main rival. It doesn't really gallop like a horse. It doesn't also feel like you're riding a horse. In fact, this Xpander Cross feels more like you're driving a crossover when it comes to its suspension tuning. I also like that it's able to absorb the potholes and uneven roads quite well. It doesn't really get too transmitted inside the cabin. So yeah, piloting this thing feels like you're driving, let's say, a value crossover, which is pretty much the same price contender as the Xpander Cross. When it comes to its safety features, well, the Xpander Cross gives you the basic necessities when it comes to safety. We've got dual airbags here, we've got traction control, stability control, hill start assist, and also ABS with EBD. It's pretty much average and par for the course when it comes to this MPV class. Overall, guys, well, the Xpander Cross is a relaxed family cruiser that looks like a bruiser. It can give you that familiar Mitsubishi driving feel to it. It feels robust, reliable, and dependable. But the thing is, the Mitsubishi Xpander GLS can also give you the same traits. So, the question still is, does this Xpander Cross even make any sense? Exactly. For the price, the Xpander GLS presents a really strong case. It also has 7 seats, and it also looks sleeker than this rugged-looking Xpander Cross. But the taller ground clearance of this thing is pretty tough to beat. So if you regularly haul 7 passengers and live or drive in a flood-prone area, well, the Xpander Cross really does make a lot of sense. But if you can do without the plastic claddings, the taller ground clearance, or even the larger wheels, well, the regular Xpander GLS may be the better choice. Thanks for watching.